What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Night Out channel, and if you've been following my channel for a while or even more recently, you'll know I've been doing a lot of Dynasty Warriors content. And in this video I want to count down my picks for my top 10 Dynasty Warriors characters. Now if you've been following the channel again recently, you'll know that I've already done an analysis series for every single character within the games, and if you were to rummage through each of the episodes you would be able to kind of pick out what my top 10 were. But I'll make it easy for you guys and put them all in one video. I love Dynasty Warriors. It's one of my all-time favorite games, and I've been playing it for a very long time. I will be doing a separate video where I rank every single character from the lowest ranking character in my opinion all the way up to the highest. For those of you that have been following along with the series and just following along with the channel recently, you'll know that I've already done a rankings a few years ago with the Dynasty Warriors characters, but I recently updated it and put everybody where I think they should be for me personally, and we're just gonna go ahead and jump right into it, starting off with number 10.
Now, everyone, show your joy, not with your blade, but with a dance!
So coming at number 10, we have Zhang He. So like I mentioned in the beginning, I've been a fan of Dynasty Warriors for a long time, and this guy is the reason why. So back in Dynasty Warriors 3 came out, Zhang He, which is a character that I was immediately drawn to play. I don't know why. The claws were really cool, I guess. Maybe the way he looked back then, I'm not really sure. I just knew that when I picked up the game and started playing with this character, I instantly fell in love with the character and the game itself. He's always going to remain a top 10 character for me because of what he represents to me within the game. He's the character that got me into the game, so he's always going to somewhere be in my top 10 moving forward. Unfortunately, the character is 10th for me because of the evolution the character take. I really liked him in Dynasty Warriors 3. I think it was the epitome of the character, even though historically he wasn't like that, but they gave him that personality for whatever reason. It wasn't as in your face as it is in the later games. And I really like the fact that maybe because I was so young that I never really noticed that or never cared about his certain qualities or personalities that he displayed in the earlier games. After Dynasty Warriors 6, he gets a little more eccentric, he gets a little more flamboyant. That's why he drops down to number 10 for me, but he's always going to remain a top 10 because he is the reason that I am a Dynasty Warriors fan. So starting off the list at number 10, we have the flamboyant butterfly General Zhang He.
Master Huanggai has shown us the way. Listen, men of Sun Wu, have courage!
Now moving on to number 9, we have the handsome, one of the most handsome men in the game, my boy Zhou Yu. So Zhou Yu coming at number 9, I believe he was a little higher for me in my last list. I think he was like 6th or 7th. He's gonna drop a little low for me now at number 9 because some of the other characters, after playing through every character, I liked a little bit more, or just some things about the character I just liked a little bit more. But Zhou Yu coming at number 9 is a solid choice for me because I really enjoy Zhou Yu's staff. I've always enjoyed his weapon style after Dynasty Warriors 5. His sword weapon was cool, very unique to Zhou Yu. I talk a little bit more in depth about it in his video, but I've always enjoyed his staff because it's just a really fun style to play with. I always use it in my creative characters in Dynasty Warriors, and then Zhou Yu himself, his personality and the way he interacts with some other characters within the game is always really cool to see. I like Zhou Yu's leadership abilities and the way he kind of mentors other people within this kingdom. Zhou Yu's always been a favorite of mine, and his weapon style is definitely the cherry on top for me for the character. And even in like Dynasty Warriors 9, when he was first starting off proving himself to like Chen Pu and some of the other veteran officers, he never took that as a dissuadement to him. He was just like more of a challenge, more of a I'm here to prove to you why Sun Ce, the new leader of the Wu Kingdom, is a capable leader, and I'm gonna do everything I can to help push him forward. His relationship with Sun Ce is one of my favorites within the game. I love their dynamic together, and I love seeing that brotherly bond that they have with each other. But easy pick for me, number 9, Zhou Yu. Main reason he's up here so high is again his weapon style, and I would say his relationship with Sun Ce.
I'm glad they came here to fight. I will teach all of them a lesson. They will fall to the greatest warrior in the world.
Now coming in at number 8, we have the big boy himself, the demon the mightiest warrior of the three kingdoms, Lu Bu. So if you do end up watching my full ranking video, you'll see me talk about Lu Bu a little bit, and I almost took him out of my top 10 because there's some other characters underneath or that are not in the top 10 that I could have traded out for Lu Bu. The reason that Lu Bu actually made it into my top 10 was because of his story in Dynasty Warriors 6. So all of my rankings are based on the main series appearances by each of the character. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to play any of the Extreme Legends games because I don't have access to the games because they're PlayStation exclusive. Because of Lu Bu's story in Dynasty Warriors 6, because of the different flavors he shows as a person, I had no problem putting him or leaving him in my top 10. I believe he was 7th in my last rankings. He's dropped down to number 8, but Lu Bu, one of the most iconic characters in the game, one of the strongest characters in the game. I mean, his presence alone is enough to make players really think twice about going against this character. The games famously tell you to not pursue this character because he can kill you extremely easy. Even on the easiest of levels, Lu Bu will tear through you if you are not careful. His entrances in the Battle of the Hulao Gate is always, legendary. He always has that presence about him, and he's, again, that character that really instills that fear into a player when you pick up a game of Dynasty Warriors. Unfortunately, in Dynasty Warriors 9, they don't do him as much of a justice because of the new battle system, but in all the previous installments, Lu Bu is a character not to be messed with, and he's personally one of my favorites. I love his weapon style, I love the way he looks, and I love his story in Dynasty Warriors 6. And that's why Lu Bu is going to fall in for number 8 for me.
I see. Zhou Fang, I have decided we'll use your plan in the battle.
Now, coming in at number 7, we have the young genius tactician himself, Lu Xun. So Lu Xun is one of my favorite characters within the game because I've always liked everything about Lu Xun. The only thing I don't like is when in Dynasty Warriors 9, his ending, they went like the nerdy route for some reason. I mean, fine, go with it, cool. But that wasn't evident in any of his other interactions until that moment. So it was a little bit of a throw off for me. But Lu Xun's weapon style, his look, except for Dynasty Warriors 6. Dynasty Warriors 6, but his main appearances within the game is pretty good. I love his weapon style. The sword or the twin swords, whatever he has. I've always really enjoyed Lu Xun and watching his personality kind of unfold. And again, he has a similar chip on his shoulder to that of Zhou Yu. He's a young strategist, young general, whatever it is. And people are doubting his abilities, like, Zhou Tai, Gan Ning. I would say had moments of doubt with this character, and Lu Xun rose to the occasion and became someone of prominence. He really makes that staple within the Wu Kingdom as a strategist during the Battle of Yiling, when throughout the games he is famously known to set up and plan the fire attack that devastates Liu Bei's forces. But Lu Xun is one of my favorites. I've always enjoyed the way he looks. I've loved his style. He's an easy pick for me at number 7.
Today's your lucky day. You get to fight the great Gan Ning.
Coming in at number 6, we have the infamous pirate himself. This was actually a pretty hard decision to make for number 5 and 6. If you watched, again, the full video of me going through the rankings, you'll see me playing with these numbers because it was so hard to determine who was number 6 and then who broke into my top 5. But Gan Ning just shy of the top 5 at number 6 for me. I mean, how can you not like this character? He's one of the cooler, badass, more type of characters. If you are not a fan of how he was historically, I can see how he would drop out of your top 10. But for me, all the rankings is based on how they are within the games, how they interact within the games, what their personalities like within the games, how they fight, all that good stuff. And Gan Ning for me is one of the best in the game for that reason alone. He has a carefree, I just want to have fun, I just want to challenge kind of attitude, and I've always enjoyed those kind of personalities within the game, and that's why Gan Ning's up here at number 6. He was always an interesting character to just look at. Like, he had the tattoos, he had the dragon heads coming up on his body, and I'm like, this character looks pretty badass, let me see what he's about. And that trend of badassery and just him being, who he is and what he's known for just grew throughout his evolution within the game. I really love his story in Dynasty Warriors 6, and I love his relationship with Ling Tong. I really like the fact that they were able to, of course, start out as enemies, and then, Gan Ning killing his father, Ling Tong and Gan Ning were able to actually build a bond of trust and, I would say, mutual respect at some point. to the point where, you know, Ling Tong was actually affected when Gan Ning actually passed away. That's really cool to see. I love seeing that dynamic. I love seeing the arc in that character. Gan Ning remains relatively the same as a person, but yeah, he goes from that lowly pirate kind of rank that he doesn't really care about. Almost he doesn't really care about himself at times. He's just like, I'm just here to fight. Transitioning into the Wu Kingdom, transitioning into somebody they could trust, becoming a general, becoming someone they can really rely on to get things done. and of course having the strength and the charisma to rally troops and lead troops into battle successfully. I really like Ga Ning within the games. He's one of my favorite characters. The only thing I really don't like about the character is his hairstyle in Dynasty Warriors 7. Why did they give him that long hair? Not a big fan. And then of course the sickle and chain. Sickle and chain is an okay weapon. It's not one of my favorites. I liked him with the double knives, and of course his sword was cool as well. But Ga Ning's gonna remain one of my favorites because of his personality. Seeing his relationship develop with Ling Tong, and then of course his relationship with Lu Meng was always interesting to see. The trio, those three, I love watching them interact with each other, and it's always been really fun. Easy pick for me, number 6, Ga Ning.
Against you, not out of spite. I am led only by the light of justice. Come here. Face me.
Alright, starting off our top 5. This was a hard decision to make on breaking the top 5. The first, like my top 3 were pretty easy to make in a sense, but starting off at number 5, we have the Spear of Justice himself, Ma Chao. Now again, I'm going back to something similar I said with Ga Ning. I understand if people are not a fan of Ma Chao because of his historical information, but for me, again, my list is based on the series itself and just how this character is portrayed within the series. And because Ma Chao is portrayed the way he is, as hypocritical as it is, I know, he's the top 5 character for me. Ma Chao has one of the most iconic Musou attacks within the game, and I'll be putting out a top 10 Musou attacks video that I talk more about that. But Ma Chao's iconic Dynasty Warriors 3, 4, and 5 Musou attack, it always stood out to me. You know, he was like one of the few characters that, you know, he starts it off and then he like jumps up onto his spear and then swings down. I always thought it was really cool. I like that they brought it back for his rage attack in the later games. But Ma Chao, the Pillar of Justice, the spear, he's got that presence about him. When he shows up on the battlefield, it's like he's one of those characters you kind of got to worry about. You know, if you're going against him and he's got his power up, you're like, okay, let me make sure I don't die here. He's one of those characters that has that, you know, factor about him, and I've always liked Ma Chao for that reason. His relationship with Ma Dai could be worked on a little bit more, and then outside of that, I don't think he has many relationships that's super significant. Of course, he respects Liu Bei and being a part of the Shu Kingdom, and then his hatred towards Cao Cao is there as well. Within the games, I think Ma Chao is an awesome looking character. I mean, look at the guy, dude. He's wearing like dragon armor and stuff. I mean, he just looks badass. You know, developers thought to make this character the way he is. I can't help but not like the character because he looks cool. His Musou attacks is awesome. I love his weapon style with the spear. I like the character. He's one of my favorites. Top 5 for me. He was a hard pick to choose between him and Ga Ning, but ultimately I went with Ma Chao because he's probably one of the first characters I play on the Shu side if I'm able to play him. He's just really fun, and I've always enjoyed him. Starting off my top 5 is Ma Chao. Alright, coming in at number 4, we have, I believe, the previous number 1 character on my list from a long time ago, Zhao Yun, the poster boy himself. One of my favorite characters in the game. How can you not like this character? I mean, just like I talked about in my video for him, the only really negative thing about him is his blind loyalty to Liu Bei. Other than that, this character is awesome. He's got some of the best openings in the game. He's one of the, you know, iconic characters. He's on the face of the game. This character is just a whole lot of awesome. And maybe some people don't like that because he's always being pushed into your face. But for me personally, I love playing Zhao Yun. One of my favorite characters in the game. I love the way he looks. His spear is awesome, and the moveset that he's given in the games is not like super flashy, but it's always been fun. I've always enjoyed playing with Zhao Yun, and I love seeing his development from kind of bland personality to almost like a leader. He becomes that mentor when some of the younger and the later Shu generation starts to get added. People are looking to Zhao Yun for guidance and leadership, and he has, again, similar to Ma Chao, that it factor, that personality that he shows up and you're like, okay, the little dragon's here, let me make sure I don't die. He's a character you don't really want to underestimate, and I've always enjoyed seeing Zhao Yun in his content. Zhao Yun's one of my favorite characters, and he's always going to remain one of my favorites. He was actually at number 2 in my last rankings, and he's dropped down to number 4. I thought there was a couple characters that were a little bit better than him, and the only reason I say that, and I'll talk about it in the next pieces, is because the content for him was actually not as much as I thought it was. His roles in the game, in the later games, is a lot less. It took out a lot for him. He doesn't really do as much, but I've I've always enjoyed his content. I'm excited to see what his story looks like in Dynasty Warriors 10. But he's such an iconic character. He gets you hyped for the game when you see him going against thousands of people at one time. So easy pick for me, Zhao Yun, top 5. Coming in at number 4. It's a no-brainer for me. It's a no-brainer for most people that are big fans of this game. I think he's a great representation of the Dynasty Warriors series, and I look forward to see what it looks like in the next game. Alright, top 3, baby. Here we go. So, top 3 is a little different from my last ranking. So, coming in at number 3, starting off number 3, we have the one-eyed general himself, Xiahou Dun. Now, Xiahou Dun was originally number 5 for me, but I put him up to number 3 because when I went through Xiahou Dun's story again, it was such a compelling story. I really like Xiahou Dun's story, and I know he's one of the creator's favorites, so perhaps he gets a little bit more spotlight because of that. But I really liked the way that they go about Xiahou Dun's story from Dynasty Warriors 5 and on. Dynasty Warriors 3 and 4 were pretty good for him too, but the content itself was kind of limited. But Dynasty Warriors 5, 6, 7, 8, he has such an impactful presence within the game that I'd love to see his interactions with pretty much every character that he has a good relationship with. Zhang Liao, Cao Cao, his cousin, Xiahou Yuan. I mean, it's just really cool to see that. He maintains that badassery even when he gets shot in the eye. And again, he's he's one of the few characters that has this feat in the game. He gets shot in the eye, pulls it out, and eats it. Nobody else does that. But Xiahou Dun within the games he's a really badass, compelling character. And he's not just a one-note badassery character. I love the moments when he's a little bit more emotional, a little bit more soft when Cao Cao passes away, or his ending in Dynasty Warriors 6 when he's saying farewell to Cao Cao, understanding what Cao Cao's true intention was within that game. I really enjoyed watching Xiahou Dun and watching him develop throughout the game. Easy pick for me for number 3. The only thing I didn't like about Xiahou Dun is his weapon style in Dynasty Warriors 6, and then them cutting off his hair. Dynasty Warriors 7, I think that's the worst style for him. Dynasty Warriors 8 was okay, Dynasty Warriors 6 was okay, and then Dynasty Warriors 9 was fine too. I mainly like his appearance because they go back to that look that he had in Dynasty Warriors 5. But I love Xiahou Dun. I love his kind of rivalry with Guan Yu. It's really fun to watch that. It's really fun to see that he's not going to be beaten by him. I think he would take that personality and that kind of trait with anyone. I wouldn't say he's doing it for Cao Cao. It's more of him like for himself, to prove to himself, and then of course anyone that would doubt him or doesn't think he's up to par of someone like Guan Yu, or anyone for that matter. Xiahou Dun's there to prove them wrong and to show them that, this dude's here to stay. This dude's a badass character. He's willing to do whatever it takes for Cao Cao, and I just love watching him through the game. Also, another thing I want to note is that Xiahou Dun uses a sword as well. I'm not a big fan of the sword styles, but Xiahou Dun is one of the few ones that I actually enjoyed his weapon style. It's actually pretty fun to use Xiahou Dun within the games, and he's an easy choice for me at number 3.
What does strength mean to you?
Strength is the ability to make that what you believe in a reality.
Alright, finally coming up to number 2, we have the runner-up for me, one of the, badass, legendary, honorable characters in the game, and that is Zhang Liao. Now, Zhang Liao is one of my favorites in the game because of just what he represents within the game. I can't really think of a fallacy for him within any of the games, that maybe his look in Dynasty Warriors 7. It was an okay look, wasn't that great, but his weapon style I've always enjoyed, even from the switch from his Gulian Dao to the twin axes. I like him. Zhang Liao's weapon style and personality and just the way he looks, everything just combines well into a really good character. If you haven't picked it up by now, I really like watching the story and the relationships that characters develop within the game. It's always really fun watching that. So Zhang Liao's relationship with Xiahou Dun in Dynasty Warriors 6, and then developing the relationships later with Yue Jin and Li Dian for the Battle of Hefei. It's always heartwarming to see that because Zhang Liao is a badass, kind of by himself kind of character. He's to himself. He does his duty. He's very humble. He's got his integrity, whatever it is, and he does his job, and that's what he's just there for. But it's cool to see him transition from somebody who was going against Cao Cao's forces, right, being a part of Lu Bu's forces, to someone that became a commander, a general, someone that people look up to, and someone who people can really rally behind and really follow into battle confidently because of the presence that Zhang Liao has within the games. And then going back to Lu Bu real quick, I love that Zhang Liao can see small hints of honor within Lu Bu that allows him to stay with him, at least within the game itself. I would say the only person that Lu Bu genuinely respected as a warrior was Zhang Liao. Some of the taglines and dialogue that they have with each other, or just in general, like I believe Lu Bu would say things like, wow, even Zhang Liao is struggling. Like, him being surprised that someone of that caliber to Lu Bu is struggling was surprising to him, if that makes sense. Hopefully that makes sense. But Zhang Liao coming at number 2 for me, one of my favorite characters in the game. I love everything about the character. There's nothing really bad about the character that I can really touch on. The only thing I didn't really like is his look in Dynasty Warriors 7, but even then, that was, it was fine. He still maintained his, presence and still had his values and morals. And one of my favorite lines from the games in general, like this is probably my favorite line within the game. Cao Cao has captured Lu Bu and Zhang Liao. He walks up to him. He asks him, "What is strength to you?" There's so much truth behind what Zhang Liao responds with that he's just a hard character not to like. I really like Zhang Liao. I'm sure they're gonna expand more on him in Dynasty Warriors 10 and his relationships and everything like that. But easy pick for me, number 2, Zhang Liao. Now let's go ahead and reveal my number 1 character.
But a new challenge awaits. We're just getting started. This should be fun.
Coming in at number 1, we have the Little Conqueror of Jiangdong, my favorite character in the game, Sun Ce. Now, some of you may already know who my number 1 character was because you might have followed along with my analysis series and I might have revealed it to you. It's still the same in this video. So this was, I guess, a recent development for me. I think this happened after Dynasty Warriors 6 came out. After Sun Ce's personality was really, developed and flourished into who he is today, that's when I really started liking the character. Sun Ce represents to me what Dynasty Warriors is about. Just like I already talked about, you get on the game, it's very casual. You're having a good time. You play with your favorite characters, or you're playing through the Empires mode and you're recruiting your favorite characters, whatever it is. You're just on the game to have a good time, and for me, that's what Sun Ce represents, because when he's on the battlefield, when he's planning for his next thing, when he's trying to figure out what to do next, it's in the interest of fun. Everybody's trying to have a good time, and that's what Sun Ce was. He's like, again, similar to Gan Ning's personality, he's there to have a good time. He's there to have a good challenge. I'm in, like when he meets Tai Chi for the first time, he's like, oh, this guy's got, the eyes of a warrior. This guy looks really strong. Let me take you on one-on-one. He ends up, fighting him. He beats him, whatever it is. Hey, join my team, man. You're awesome. Like, there's nobody else really like that within the games, and I've always been drawn to Sun Ce's personality. It's unfortunate how short his story is because he gets killed pretty, early within the games. But in Dynasty Warriors 6, you really get to see what it would be like if he lived past that, and I enjoyed seeing that. After seeing his story in Dynasty Warriors 6, again, seeing his relationship with Zhou Yu, and then with just anyone within the kingdom, or just anyone in general, you know what I'm saying? It's a very carefree, having fun kind of attitude, and it's one that I can really get behind, and it's one that I really enjoy watching and just seeing how it develops. Sun Ce also has one of the most impactful deaths within the game, just watching him get killed because of his recklessness or whatever it is. It just comes with the territory. It comes with being that character. But the main reason, like I've already mentioned, that Sun Ce is number 1 for me is because he represents Dynasty Warriors to me. When I get on the game, I just want to have a good time. But yeah, other than that, guys, that's gonna be my top 10 as of right now. 4 years later, I redid the whole list. I'm gonna be releasing that video real soon. But in that video, I'm gonna talk about why each character is where it was, and just I switched a bunch of them, and just, it's a pretty tough decision to make. You got 94 characters now, and you got to choose your, your top 10. It was hard to make that decision, but I enjoyed doing this, and hopefully you guys enjoyed the video as well. But yeah, guys, that's all I have. If you want to watch that video, it'll be linked in the description, or it'll be on the card. Just click on the video and you can go right to it and check it out. Let me know what your guys' favorite characters are. Your top 5, your top 10, whatever it is. Let me know down below. And hope you guys enjoyed it. But that's all I have, guys, and I'll see you all in the next video. Thanks for watching, everyone.